This is winning in the garage, and we need to talk. We're barely a month into the cross season, and I've seen more rolled tubulars than I can count already. We've obviously got a bit of a problem here. There's a fine art to gluing on a tubular for cross. It's different from a road tire. You have different pressure and different set of rules. So we're going to go through the correct way to glue on a tubular for cyclocross today. After last week's Boulder Cup, I tracked down one of the guys who actually rolled a tubular and asked to have a look at his wheel. I brought it home here, and here's the problem. He's following all the rules. He's got his 3 coats of glue on the rim, and he's got 3 coats of glue on the tire as well. But what's happening is there's not enough glue buildup to actually contact the tire to the rim here in the middle. So what he's ended up with is just 2 or 3 millimeters either side of glue contact, and that is not going to hold the tire on. One of the first things we need to do is prepare the existing glued surfaces from the rolled tubular to accept some new glue. Now you can use good old normal old acetone, but I prefer to use a product called naphtha. It's actually the solvent base for mastic 1. And if you just get a little bit of that on a rag, as I've already done, you can go around the rim and it'll reactivate the glue, re-key that glue, and clean off some of the old junk. Go all the way around the rim and get the thing cleaned up. Next thing we need to do is have a quick look at the rim. There's not very much, or there's not even enough glue on this rim to do a decent job of holding on the tire. So quickly just run around again, get that naphtha on the rag, clean it up. You need to try and get any junk and dirt off the rim and reactivate that glue. So here's what we use to glue a set of tubulars for cyclocross. Mastic 1 in a can. Mastic 1 in a tube. Butter's very own 3/8 inch red tape. Good old garden variety flux brush or acid brush from the hardware store. And of course, some nitrile gloves. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, you need to understand that gluing tubulars takes commitment. If you're not prepared to take the time and spend a little bit of money required to get a tubular to stick on properly, you should probably stick with clinchers. One problem I worked out is that people don't seem to understand how contact cement works. Contact cement isn't like normal glue. You don't just put the glue on one thing, stick it to the other thing. For contact cement to work, you need to put glue on one surface and apply it to the other surface and let both surfaces dry completely so that the contact cement can bond to those surfaces. After that, you put the 2 surfaces together and the glue will bond to itself. Okay, so you got your rim and your tire ready to go. It's time to start applying glue. You want to apply glue in a well-ventilated area so you don't get too stoned, and also you want to do it above about 60 degrees so that the glue activates properly. Putting on glue is really, really easy. Dip the brush in the glue, put the glue on the base tape, and then draw it out in a nice, thin, even layer. You want to get all the way from side to side on the base tape and coat the base tape entirely. Work your way all the way around the tire, one time. Moving on to the rim, it's time to put the first coat of glue on the rim. Once again, hold up your can of mastic 1, start at the valve hole and start working the glue around the rim. You want to draw it out nice and evenly again. I typically hold the can of mastic 1 in my hand so it's nice and close, and I have the truing calipers down on the truing stand to hold the rim in place if I let it go. You want to work the glue out all the way evenly around the rim. Make sure you get it on either side of the valve holes. That's it. Right, day 2 back in the garage. I took these guys in overnight because it was a little colder. The rim and the tire have had 24 hours for the glue to set up. As you can see, the mastic 1 that's on the tire and the rim already is rock hard, completely set up. This is where we take a little bit of a departure from the normal way you would glue a tubular. For a road tubular, you would put your glue on the rim, put your glue on the tire, and mount it up, and it would be fine. For cyclocross, it's a completely different story, and here's why. Most of the wheels we use for cyclocross are actually road wheels that have been repurposed and we mount cyclocross tires on them. Road tubulars are designed to have a 23 or a 25mm tire on them, and the rim bed is actually designed to support that kind of tire. In cyclocross, as you can see here, you're averaging a 33mm tire mounted on a road rim. It only touches on the sides, as we discussed earlier on, but there's a big gap here in the middle. That's what we're trying to fill in. The red tape and the extra glue actually helps to fill this bond in here and create a gluing surface all the way across. The guys at Envy were kind enough to send us a couple of small rim samples so we can hold up the rim samples to the tires, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here's a 25mm road tire with a standard tubular rim from Envy. As you can see, the road tire contacts the rim all the way across, and with 3 layers of glue on the tire and 3 layers of glue on the rim, that tire would stick down perfectly. Same rim, cyclocross tire. As you can see, the extra diameter of the tire reduces the contact on the rim to just a little bit on either side, and what you have to do is build up the center track of the tubular rim so that the cyclocross tire will contact it all the way across. Got it? Good. Okay, so now that you understand the reason that you have to build up the center of the rim track, here's how to do it. I use my own butter red tape. I've used a bunch of different tapes over the years and had mixed results. This is the best formulation I've found so far. Why? Because I formulated it myself. It's pretty simple, really. You lay the red tape in the rim track. I will typically pin it in with a tubeless valve stem just to hold the tape in place, and it's really quite simple. Pull the tape out of the way and put like a nice bead of glue right there in the center track. I'll do this for a few segments of the rim, 2 or 3 segments of the rim so it doesn't set up, and all you do is just gently pull the tape out, wind a little off the spool, pull the tape out and lay it nice and straight in the rim track, just like that. When you get to the end, you can just smooth it very gently down with your finger and just gently pull it back to where you don't have any glue. Same again, you can go all the way around the wheel like this. Just put a nice bead of glue in the bottom of the rim well, in the rim track, on a few of the spoke holes. Gather up some more tape and just lay it gently in there. Just run over it gently with your finger and get it to press down like that. Now the object of the game, you can see it coming through already, is to get glue to soak through into that tape from the bottom up. Okay, day 3. We've got our first base coat on the rim, and we've also got our red tape perfectly embedded in the glue that we squeezed on there from the tube. There's 2 steps left, and that is to go ahead and put another coat of glue on the rim. Now it's very important with this coat to get the glue to soak back into that red tape. So it almost creates a composite where the glue from underneath soaks all the way through the tape and contacts this glue on top, and it makes a solid mass of glue that's reinforced with the tape. Just work your way all the way around the rim. Gluing these is a lot easier once all the spoke holes are covered up as well. It goes a lot faster. Once you mount a cyclocross tire on the rim, you have no idea how much surface contact the glue has between the rim and the tire. So I made this thing. Just got a piece of metal tube, stuffed it inside an old piece of tire casing, so you get a good little indication of how much glue contact you're going to get. So as you can see here, we have some layers of glue building up on the rim. The red tape is built in there to build up the center track, and once we put on those last 2 layers of glue, one on the tire and one on the rim, we will have perfect contact all the way across. Okay, D-Day, time to put this tire on. The tire can already have 3 layers of glue on it if you like. If you've only done 2 at this point, you can do your last 3rd layer of glue on the tire, but you've got to do it before the rim so it sets up. On the rim, you put on your last layer of glue, you've got everything else on there. It had time to set up overnight and get nice and hard. Your last layer of glue goes on as a wet layer so that you can adjust the alignment of the tire as you mount it, and then you're ready to inflate. So let's do this. Okay, final layer of glue on the tire. We've got to wait a few minutes, and how long you need to wait depends on temperature, atmospheric pressure, I'm sure, humidity, but typically it's 4 to 5 minutes. You want the glue to start to set up and start to be tacky, but it still needs to be malleable enough that you can adjust the tire once it goes on. Okay, go time. The wheel is ready to go and the tire is ready to go. One thing I always do is just go ahead and clean off the floor so I don't pick up any junk from the floor. Step 1, pick up the wheel. Valve core, valve hole at the top. Step 2, pick up the tire and completely deflate. Let all the air out of it. Check tread direction before you put the tire on. This is very important. If you put a tire on, tread's going the wrong way, you're screwed. So, grab the tire either side of the valve stem, push it in the valve stem, make sure it's nice and straight, and just kind of wiggle it into place. Typically what I do is I pull one side just a little bit and lay it in the right spot. Then I'll pull the other side just a little bit like that. Make sure the valve stem doesn't get out of alignment. You can pull a little harder on one side and it'll actually scooch in one or the other direction. You don't want to let that tire get too far ahead of itself. And now, pushing down and away, just keep mounting the tire all the way down across the bottom till you get as far as you can go. Then, tire in the belly, wheel laying on your knees, pull up and mount that last bit of tire. If you've pre-stretched your tire, this should be pretty easy. I typically don't bother pre-stretching my tires because I actually want it to be kind of a little hard to get on. But this can be a bit of work. This is where your wet layer comes into play. You want to just be able to, while the tire is still deflated, you can just work it into place. Get it about where you want it. And then you will have a final alignment once you're done. Now you only have a few minutes to handle this step, so you've got to move pretty quick. Get the wheel back in the truing stand. A little bit of air. Just a few pounds, just enough for the tire to take shape. Then go ahead and check the alignment. You can usually line it up on the base tape on the sides. Have to switch sides a couple of times to get that to be in the right spot. Spin the tire and check tread alignment. See where if there's a bit of a dip in the tread, you can always clean it up a bit and just adjust the placement of that tire. So once again, your last layer of glue on the rim is still just a little bit goopy and wet here. So it gives you the time to go ahead and straighten out the tread, get the tire just the way you want it. One good visual reference is to go around, spin the tire around and look at the base tape on the side. Get it centered. So as you work the tire and work the rim, it'll get straighter and straighter and straighter. Once you get it to a pretty good spot, you can add some more inflation. So just come up to like 30 or 40 pounds. Now for handmade tubular, if you put this on and pump it up to 80 pounds, the tubular will actually twist on the rim and you will have misaligned tread. So if you're putting on a handmade tubular, you need to just put 20 or 30 pounds in it initially, probably for the first almost an hour. Then you can inflate it to get the proper adhesion. With the Clement or the Tufo tires, you can just go ahead and pump them right up because they hold straight. So that's it. Tires mounted, glued up. All we have to do now is wait. I would recommend waiting at least 24 hours to get this thing to stick down properly. If you are compressing your layer time, so if you glue all of your layers at the same time, like a lot of people like to do, you need more drying time on the back end to make sure everything sets up and glues down. But sucker's going to be ready to race. So that's how you glue a cyclocross tire onto a rim for a cyclocross bike. I just want to make it really clear that there's no real right or wrong way of doing this. You can do it a bunch of different ways. You don't have to use tape. There's different kinds of tape. I recommend tape just to build up the rim bed surface so that you'll actually get a good gluing surface, but you could just do it by piling up layers of glue. One thing I do know that the way I do it, you need to use about 100 to 140 grams of glue. So Mastic 1, this Vittoria Mastic 1, comes in a 250 gram can, and you need to use pretty much half a can, and that would be including the glue you would use from the tube the way I showed you to do it. If you're using less glue than that, you're probably drawing out the layers too much and you're not going to get enough glue contact. If you're using more glue than that, you're probably just going to end up wasting a bunch of glue and it'll all just splooge out the sides and make a mess. So pay attention to drying times. Make sure that you just take your time and do this right so that when you go railing into a corner at a gazillion miles an hour, that tire's going to stay on. Have a great cyclocross season.